Hello, everyone. This is the students of S.H.I.E.L.D. coming at you on a Sunday this week. We were a little late this week, but we are here to talk about comics. And what is this, episode like 17 or something? 18?
19.
19. Shit, already. All right, and I'm Dan, and I'm joined by.
I'm Mike.
And I'm Vincent.
And yeah. So what books are we starting with? Oh wait, we're gonna do
Let's do our Hall segment first.
That's right. I always want to jump into the comics.
Dan, alphabetically, you're first. So do you want to do the Hall first?
Yeah. So obviously, well, not obviously, but anyone who is following my YouTube channel, you'll know that I did my PhillyCon 2019 haul on there. So go check that out. But just to hit on some of the high points of stuff I got, picked up Riri Williams' Invincible Iron Man stuff. Not her ongoing series right now. So got that. Picked up the classic Stan Lee and Jack Kirby S.H.I.E.L.D. stuff, which is good because so now I can read that and then the Steranko stuff. Picked up Spider-Man Iron Man team up book, which is just some random Marvel team up issues featuring those two characters, which I really like. Got another Thanos OGN that I don't own.
How many of those are there?
I have at least 4. I'm pretty.
There's either 6 or 7.
Shit. Well, there we go.
There's two trilogies, and then the Warlock book is the 7th.
Yeah.
Nice. And then I also picked up the Charles Soule Darth Vader hardcover. So that's cool. And then the last book I got here, which actually wasn't from PhillyCon, but my friend gave to me, is the Fantastic Four Epic Collection, The Coming of Galactus, which I waited 10 months for. So it's nice to finally have it.
That friend has been on the show.
Yeah, so shout out to Matt.
And he didn't really give it to you.
What?
I mean, it's not like he gave it to you as a gift.
I mean, at this point, it kind of felt like a gift because I forgot for so long that he owed me it. But yeah, it's nice to finally have that. So, yee.
You only waited almost a year for it.
Yeah, well, it's okay. I haven't even started my readathon for Fantastic Four stuff yet.
Right.
Did it make receiving it that much sweeter?
Mm-hmm. It did.
So maybe next time you can wait 12 months.
Oh yeah, it's gonna have to be like that. So, yep.
Okay.
All right. I'm gonna go next.
Okay.
My name's before yours. This was my PhillyCon haul from Wizard World. Flash and Green Lantern Brave and the Bold. This just got a deluxe hardcover, but this is the old trade paperback, so for $5, that wasn't bad. All of Alias by Bendis and Gaitos. Deadshot Beginnings, which is now out of print. Green Lantern Emerald Allies. So that has Connor Hawk, and if you want to see us talk more Connor Hawk, go watch the No Man's Land podcast. Batman Year 2, Fear the Reaper. Funny that we got this as we just covered that Detective Comics Annual, which brought this back in continuity. Second volume of Nightwing, Rough Justice. The Ed Brubaker Winter Soldier Complete Collection, which I own this in issues and now in collected form. The third epic collection for the Incredible Hulk, Leader Lives. The Green Hornet Omnibus, Volume 1. So this has all the Kevin Smith scripted stuff that was written by Phil Hester. This just got a trade paperback, but the hardcover deluxe version of The Button for Batman the Flash. And the last thing I got was the David Michelinie and Todd McFarlane Spider-Man Omnibus. So that's what I got.
Good stuff.
All right. My haul, first PhillyCon, and then bought some other shit somehow in like 9 days or whatever.
I was like, how did you manage to swing that?
I don't know. So this is 2 cable volumes. I believe last PhillyCon I bought the volume, which comes right after this. Yes, right after this. And then after that one comes this. And so this and the one I bought last year is a really cool run written by, at first, James Robinson, then Joe Casey, and it's drawn by Jose Ladrone. It's like a very Kirby-inspired art style.
We talked about
And-
Jose Ladrone on the Clone Saga show.
Yeah. And this run of Cable, I don't really know shit about. I guess it's called Revolution, so I guess it runs alongside the Revolution era when that's Chris Claremont's second run on X-Men, which the main X-Men books not very well received in that era, and I don't really hear much about this Cable run, so I don't imagine that this is much well received. It sounds like it's some kind of mumbo jumbo Destiny bullshit, which Cable stories are either time travel bullshit, mumbo jumbo Destiny bullshit, or I don't know, other kinds of bullshit. But now I believe, Marvel has basically collected, I think, all of Cable except for like a weird like chunk of like 5 issues or something. Always managed to do that. And then another thick book. This I technically got for $5, which is a great steal. Quasar, Cosmos, and Collision. And this has the run on the book. I think all the issues that Greg Capullo drew before he leveled up to X-Force and then eventually Spawn and Batman and is now one of the biggest artists in the industry. And this is the thing where this is like old school Marvel Cosmic fans. This is like, they always say like 90s, late 80s era. This is the one thing not by Starlin, which is any good. And so I will see about that. And now this gets us, with the Quasar Classic, gets us through Quasar number 25 and the chunk of the stuff that actually matters, the beginning and then this big arc. So I'm probably not going to custom bind it. And then scoring on a five books for $20 sale or whatever, just a bunch of X-Men completionism, the whole recent Generation X series, which only lasted 2 volumes, first volume of X-Men Red, which only lasted 2 volumes.
Red only lasted 2 volumes?
Yeah. It's because it was I guess it was canceled. Like all the color books were canceled to make way for Disassembled.
Right.
And that relaunched, and now all of those books are getting canceled, as we'll mention it at least once more on the show. And here's some more color books: 2 volumes of blue, 1 volume of gold. This is the volume of gold with the fake out wedding. And I thought this was the end, but I guess there's an even a volume after this. So if it weren't for crossovers and stuff, blue and gold would be 7 volumes. But blue is a little more complicated because it gets wrapped up. So this blue's final volume is 5, but that's because it gets wrapped up in a crossover with Venom and shit, Poison X, and I forget what the other crossover is. And then a random volume of Extraordinary X-Men, the other flagship before that flagship, which also didn't last super long. And then, so in the grand scheme of things, didn't pick up that many books at PhillyCon compared to previous years, which you can see some of those previous hauls somewhere on our channel. But I went to one vendor who was just like, fill up these bags of dollar issues. And at that point, they're not even dollar issues, however much you can fit in a bag.
Fill up a bag for $40, right?
Yeah. Which, I didn't actually completely do. Oh, yeah, I think I got 133 issues total. So they come out to, am I doing that math right?
Well, you got 2 bags.
Like 30 cents?
Yeah, they come up to about 60 cents an issue, I believe.
Oh.
Because I got 2 bags. And so rather than just a total menagerie of stuff, I actually grabbed basically a bunch of sets and lots. So here we have Atari Force number 1. I got basically the entire series of that. And due to licensing issues, because it's both an Atari license book and a DC book, and these are totally original characters, it's similar to ROM or Micronauts, where it's just licensing hell to ever reprint these, because you both need the Atari license, and DC has to bend the knee and allow you to reprint it as well. So unless DC ever gets the Atari license back, which literally pigs will fly because the Atari license for comic books has zero value in 2019.
Zero value when they had it.
Yeah, and so that's like a 25 issue run or so, and it's perfect size for custom binding. And it's a cult classic series, and most of it is drawn by very good artists. A huge bulk of it is Jose Luis Garcia Lopez, who I guess his name isn't humongous because he never had like a definitive run, but any DC fan knows his art from a lot of licensing art, and he did some major Superman and Wonder Woman and stuff like that. And then we have E-Man #1. This is a character which was originally at Charlton, created by Nicola Cudi and Joe Staton. Mainstream fans will know Staton from various things. He did a shitload of Green Lantern over the years. And E-Man's like, I don't know, they're a weird indie character, and eventually moved to First. And so this is a 25 issue run. Again, perfect size for custom binding. And next section. This was a great find for effectively 60 cents. Legion of Superheroes 298. This is it's not going to really show up on camera well. This is the first appearance of Amethyst in like a backup preview story. And Amethyst, even though she's now in Young Justice and everything like that, she's not like a huge deal. So this isn't like a super expensive issue, but for 60 cents, it was a huge steal. I got a bunch of issues of World's Finest Comics so that I can rip out the Hawkman stories from them. And flowing right from that, got some Hawkman issues to complete my run of the the first attempt at a post-crisis Hawkman. This is the Shadow War of Hawkman era, mostly by Tony Isabella and Richard Howell. And then DC decided, hey, we're going to reboot Hawkman again. And that time they eventually fucked it up. And then I have a bunch. I thought I had a near complete set, but actually there's like a gap in it. And I'm hoping I didn't leave those issues at the con. Who knows? But I got a bunch of issues of Whisper, who's like this 80s independent female ninja character. Just like trashy popcorn comics, basically. And then I got a bunch of issues, again, near complete set of the entire Red Circle line, which was Archie Comics' early 80s revival attempt of their superhero characters, which includes the S.H.I.E.L.D, which is the first patriotic or the first like American themed superhero, predating Captain America by a few months, and the Fly, which was created by Jack Kirby. And here's a Jim Steranko cover. So I got nearly that entire line, which was pretty cool. They're not like
books good.
I mean, sort of like they're not known really as good, but there's some interesting art choices in this line. Like Alex Toth does a few stories. Steve Ditko does a bunch of stories. I think Pat Boyette does some. So it's at the point where it's early 80s. So a lot of these people, they weren't like hot in mainstream comics. Like Marvel wasn't like, ooh, let's get Alex Toth to do this. But like all the like older fans and all the creators are like, holy shit, Alex Toth is like the greatest cartoonist alive. And the main editor and like kind of like house artist for the line was Rich Buckler, who is kind of like the ultimate like B-tier artist. But some interesting stuff. We'll see. It's also just my obsession of like, here's a defunct comic book line. And for 60 cents, almost the entire line, why not? Then I went to, I'm trying to think when this was. I guess it was like Wednesday or something. I went to a store which I've been to before in Northeast Philly, Garden of Earthly Delights. And last time, so they have a shitload of dollar bins. And last time I thought they cut me a crazy deal, and I'm like, okay, cool. I'm not gonna, talk further. I'll just take that price and walk out. But after actually reading the signs this time, I learned that their deal is if you fill up you can fill up a short box as much as you can, and it's $40 flat. And you can definitely fit more than 40 issues in a short box, so
Yep.
much better than dollar bin. And so I hit that again this past week. And first little again, sort of in sections. First little section, of course, I found a handful. I found five Valiant issues that I didn't have. And if I buy one more Valiant issue that I don't have, I will get to 75% completion of all the Valiant issues I need. It's at 74.9% right now. And then some other random shit. Some of these aren't very interesting. Yeah, this is the stack that doesn't matter. Then
implying that any of the single issues you just showed off matters to us at all.
So I got a near complete set of Ghost Rider 2099.
Damn it! Now I'm actually interested again. Shit.
Which initially features Chris Pacello art and is kind of ridiculous and crazy. Lots of crazy covers too. And eventually, very later on, features Ashley Wood art. And it's like one of those 2099. Obviously, everyone knows Spider-Man. Everyone knows Doom, a certain section of Doom 2099 because Warren Ellis wrote it. But other than that, a lot of the stuff is like just 90s crap. And so is Ghost Rider, but there's some half interesting.
There's people that like X-Men 2099.
What?
There's a cult following for X-Men 2099. That one's pretty.
Yeah, well, those are
at least.
Those are the people who just. A lot of those people are just going to be X-Men completists as well. And then, actually, pick this up. And
Hulk 2099 is pretty weird as well. I like Hulk 2099 though.
Then because they have a ton of bins, and recently I've been dwelling this decision over, and I finally decided, fuck it, let's do it. So here is Green Arrow Annual 7, which is one of the year one issues, and then some more Green Arrow. Basically, I've decided I'm going to track down and bind Green Arrow post the period post Mike Grell, and then all of Connor Hawke.
Okay.
And so like here's the final issue, which we sort of discussed on No Man's Land 137. I'm trying to think. I don't think I have any of the issues. I don't think I have the two. Did we read 2 Green Arrow issues?
I believe it was 2 Green Arrow issues. Yeah.
I didn't end up getting either of them, but I'll pick this up. So all of this right here is post Mike Grell Green Arrow. And then things get scarier because I decided a far larger project. How about Kyle Rayner? Because DC canceled those books.
Yep.
Here's Green Lantern number 0. And here's 51, which I believe I gave Mike one of my
Yeah,
copies.
I have a copy of that. So you found it.
Because initially I just got all the Hal Jordan stuff because I knew DC wasn't going to collect those for a different reason, and I just figured, they'll get through Kyle Rayner. It'll be just like
they're like, yeah, they'll get through Kyle Rayner because there's all the Ion stuff with Judd Winnick they got to get to too. Yeah, they'll get to it, and they canceled that 3rd volume.
Here's the 0 Hour Time with Alan Scott, Starheart era, blah blah blah.
Costume.
And all of this stuff. Let me see where this ends.
Dan's just like, who's Kyle Rayner? Who's Starheart?
Well,
So
wasn't
the
Kyle
Kyle
Rayner
Rayner,
that came after like Hal Jordan went crazy?
Yes.
Okay.
the Kyle Rayner era starts with 51 and it ends with 181. So it's going to be a ridiculously large set.
And then isn't there?
And-
Well, Ion has 12 issues, correct?
Yeah, but that's way later. That's during Jeff Johns.
No, I thought it was right before.
No, it runs alongside the Jeff Johns era.
Okay, and then
And
it's because then Green Lantern Corps launched out of Johns as well.
so the furthest issue I got is 174. I have huge gaps in here, but made some progress, I guess. And then the other thing, similar thing. I mean, I guess we don't know that technically DC has canceled this, but I don't necessarily expect them to finish it and do it the way I would like. So I also decided, just because DC doesn't have respect for the '90s like I do. So how about the Metropolis Kid?
It's not his name. It's Superboy.
Correct. That's the issue 0, and then here's the number 1. For some reason, number 1, these number 1s of all these titles, they look like they look like they're older than they are.
Yeah.
And then so basically with Superboy, I'm only interested, and this is even if they continue the paperbacks, this is part of my justification, is that I'm only interested in the eras that Carl Kiesel is writing it. And he leaves after issue 30, but then comes back for issue 50. So even if they do the paperbacks, it's like, in 10 years when they get to volume 6, then I would skip 7 through 10 or whatever. So I'll just do it my own way. And that's all the trash I bought.
And remember, this is a review. It's a review show. So, and with that, let's get to our spotlight book. The giant 50th issue. We didn't reveal this one on air last week because Vince didn't run the spiel of the RNG.
And I'll tell you now, I didn't do it this week either. So it'll be
I know you didn't. So it'll be a surprise again. But it's the 50th issue of Justice League of America from the Mark Bagley and James Robinson era. So this is like right before the new 52.
Yeah, I think the final issue is like 64 or something. I think it's like a year out from then.
So it's a fight with the Crime Syndicate of America. So I guess to bring everyone up to speed at this point, what the Justice League is at this time, because Batman is back and he's in Batman Incorporated. Superman's up on New Krypton, and I forget what Wonder Woman was doing. But basically, the main trio of the Justice League is it's Batman, it's Dick Grayson, Batman, Donna Troy, and Mon-El were like the trinity of that time. But also Supergirl, Jade, Jesse Quick were all on the team. Cyborg was on the team. Hal Jordan and Green Arrow were kind of there. So it's kind of like all the sidekicks graduating up to the big ranks, which is kind of a fun idea. At least it it was cut short because of the new 52. So like the final issue, right, Vince, of Robinson's Justice League is like all the arcs he wanted to do, like crunched into 22 pages or something.
Yeah, it's a lot of splash pages, and then also some like kind of bitter meta commentary between Donna and Dick, which is all the more fucked up because of Donna then doesn't appear in the new 52 until the very end, and then she's initially a villain and blah blah blah.
She's since back in the Rebirth continuity, part of Titans though, so at least we got that at least. But the issue opens with Jesse Quick and Supergirl having a race to clean up the Watchtower the fastest, which was pretty fun. And then they're visited by a Green Lantern from an alternate world, warning them of the crime syndicate's coming. And the crime syndicate attacks them. We get some pretty cool and fun Mark Bagley splash pages of the Justice League fighting the crime syndicate. And we got Owlman and Superwoman having their weird affair against I can't remember, it's Ultraman with Ultraman. So they're planning their stuff, and as the fight goes on, they're then attacked by the Omega Man. So and then it'll lead into a fight with Omega Man the next one. I liked the sequence of Donna Troy and Dick training, and like Donna Troy's telling Dick that he has to be the leader of this team because he was the leader of the Teen Titans. That was fun. But I liked this. There was I think my senior year of college, I started like binging on this whole era of Justice League, and it was right at this point that I stopped reading the book. I haven't picked it up since then. So this was kind of a welcome surprise to get back to it. So like this is the like one of the issues right after the arcs I finished reading. By the time I think I stopped reading Justice League at like issue 46 or something. So, what did you guys think of this? I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was pretty good. I mean, like Mark Bagley on art's always great to visit again and look at his art. I'm a little confused though. Like you said the thing with the affair. So like, does Ultraman know that like
Yeah,
like she just walks in and she's like zipping me up and it's like, okay, is he aware of it and he's just letting it happen? Like I was a
yeah,
little
he
confused
just
on that.
lets it happen. Like this is post after he knows.
Okay, that's a little weird.
Yeah, it's weird.
But yeah, it was pretty cool.
I'm always down for a good Crime Syndicate versus Justice League story, though. So, Vince, what were your thoughts on it?
Pretty much same. It's pretty wordy. Robinson, like
It is really wordy.
this era of his Justice League run. I mean, obviously, Cry for Justice is a whole other matter, but Justice League
Yeah,
and then Earth 2 and everything like that, he was getting some criticism where it's like, oh, because basically he was like one of the most well-received writers in the mid-late 90s with Starman and Golden Age and stuff like that.
yeah,
And even like, he was one of the few standouts of Malibu with his book Firearm. And then he took a break from comics for several years. And then he came back and did stuff like this. And initially, and really to this day, I mean, he just wrapped up a long Wonder Woman run. Everyone's just like, hey, he's not the golden child from Starman anymore. But I love the idea of this run. Of as we said, like the sidekicks or the B characters taking the front lines, and the way, as Robinson always does, he's picking up on things that he's done, things that others have done. The Starman Mikael Thomas is involved with this. Kongorilla. There's lots of cool characters in this run. The Bagley art is usually okay. But I think it just didn't really gel how it could have, or maybe in an ideal world could have, because the premise of the roster is cool, but might not necessarily lead to the highest sales, which means there's always pressure on the book. And then I think Robinson was just not on top of his game.
Well, and then like his plans got shifted too. I will say though, pretty cool that we got to see Jade again because Jade's a really cool character that I don't think appeared at all during the New 52. Don't even know if she's around in Rebirth.
Yeah, I don't know, because remember the beginning of the New 52, they were trying with parallel worlds and kind of bringing back the Earth 2 concept with James Robinson's Earth 2 book.
Yeah, which once again a mixed bag in terms of quality.
Yeah, as opposed to the post-crisis New Earth concept where everyone is generationally on the same Earth. So Jade, being the daughter, along with her twin brother Obsidian, of Alan Scott, how do you handle her? Because Alan Scott is over on Earth 2, and Alan Scott is also gay in this continuity. So how do you handle his two kids?
Yeah.
I don't think Jade has shown up to this day on Prime Earth. I think Obsidian was quickly introduced, but like on the Earth 2 book. Obsidian was used in Earth 2, so I don't know. It's all a mess. And Obsidian was drastically changed.
Yeah.
In fact, basically like 40% of the characters in this issue have barely been seen post.
Yeah, I know, it's horrible.
I mean, Jesse Quick, and I haven't read all of Williamson's run. We're all reading it right now, keeping up with it with year one. But as far as previous issues, we haven't read a lot of that stuff. Jesse Quick exists post Flashpoint, I guess, now, but I don't know that she's done a ton other than being in the background. And then all kind of, Congarilla, etc.
Well, that was one of the mandates if Robinson wrote the book. He said Congarilla has to be on the team.
Yeah. So that's our retro book. Not the worst book we've reviewed. Not really the best, but it was fine. It was a cool little peek into a time of history.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was a fun little walk down memory lane, seeing characters that I haven't seen in a long time.
Yeah, which I feel like that's the coolest part, especially when it's not an indie book. When we cover a Marvel or DC book, the coolest part of the retro book to me is peeking into a time and place of the history of these universes. And also creatively, like who's drawing, who's writing the book, and what's the style of the era.
Yep.
So into our modern books, only one indie book this week. We have Faithless #3, which Mike and I have been reading.
I'm surprised they stuck with it for this long, honestly.
Yeah, it's a weird book. I mean, part of keeping up with it is like, for both good and bad, not a ton happens in these issues, and there's no heavy dialogue and captions and stuff like that. So it's an easy read, and it's helped a lot by Maria Labette's art continuing to be really, really great.
Yeah.
I just don't have much interest in the story. So the issue opens up with some naked chicks, not very sexualized. So it's just like, oh, here's several pages of naked chicks walking around. And we get a little bit of explanation of our main character Faith's ambiguous magic powers, which she doesn't understand at all. Her girlfriend just leaves and dumps the care of her cat on Faith. Faith is walking around trying to soul search and everything, and is sexually assaulted by a homeless woman, which was pretty crazy. And comes home to her apartment, finds her roommate dead. I don't know how, I don't know what. Her roommate is dead. At first I thought she just like OD'd and passed out or something, and they were gonna get to it. But this character is just dead. Everyone's grieving. She's walking, soul searching again, depressed because her best friend just died. She's almost grabbed by some spirit thingies with zero explanation, and goes to feed the cat and is surprised by her girlfriend's father, and then has sex with him. And the final page tease is her friend's dead body is there while they're having sex. I don't
Book.
I don't know. I don't care. The art's pretty fun and weird stuff is happening. So I don't know. We'll see if depending on it. This is one of those indie books where it's like not really holding my attention. So if it's a really heavy week when the next issue comes out, I might drop this book.
Right.
You have any further thoughts, Mike?
No, it's all the same as yours. I'm just surprised I've stuck with it, because I remember reading the first issue and was like, I'll probably drop it, and then I stuck with it, mostly because like it would come out. It's come out on weeks where there's not a lot else out.
Mm-hmm. Now we're moving into DC, and I'm going to tackle Aquaman #49. This is the Kelly Sue DeConnick run. Art in this issue is by Victor Bogdanovic, who I think he did a bunch of like Jurgens Action Comics before this, and I forget who has. I think Robson Rocha maybe was the initial primary artist with DeConnick, but artists don't do 20 issues in a row nowadays, so it's just the reality of it. Yeah, but the art here, it's not amazing, but overall I really liked it. I guess this is the conclusion of the Amnesia arc, which DeConnick has been doing post Drown Earth. And we open with Aquaman talking to a giant shark, which it's like an ocean god type of being, and it's resurrected him from the death. And then we get the shark dumping some exposition on Arthur, explain who Mera is because he's had this amnesia, And I guess their backstory right before this run starts. So we get flashbacks of Arthur and Mara discussing their roles and relationships. Because after Drowned Earth, which was a crossover at the very end of the Abnett run, but really spearheaded uh, by Snyder's Justice League run, Aquaman was presumed dead. So he's supposed to be publicly dead, but he's not dead, and he's talking to Mara about their lives, and she's currently the Queen of Atlantis. He's presumed dead and has commitments with the Justice League, sort of.
Yeah, well, she's on the team.
Yeah, well, she is and she is, but I don't know, because this is a flashback. It's complicated,
Right.
but the comic writes Aquaman, and this is basically my first issue reading of her full run just after the first one. I think she writes him a little bit out of character. He's pretty jokey. It's a little bit closer to the movie version, but it's not full on Momoa. And the reveal here, once they just get through some dialogue, which doesn't matter, Mara is pregnant with Arthur's child.
Yes, I did see that. That was the big news for like what happened in books this week.
Yeah, Aquaman. He starts overthinking it, and he's worrying. I mean, like a lot of initial parents do. He's worrying about if he's on a mission with the Justice League. What if he dies and his kid doesn't have a father? Or
It's not
what if?
what you're worried about.
Or what if? Or what if, due to commitments, he has to leave his child because he's on Justice League missions and shit like that, which is essentially what his mother did to him. And he wants to just get some air to think about it somewhat literally. And Mara freaks out and kills him accidentally. Also pretty out of character. And Aquaman is almost he's basically Superman Wonder Woman level. So whatever Mara does, I don't know how she kills him here, but she murders Aquaman. Well, manslaughter. That's the big DC thing nowadays for heroes to commit manslaughter against other heroes. But now he's resurrected by the giant mother shark. So Aquaman is going to go back to Mara, and in the end of the issue, Mara maybe goes into labor, or it's just some kind of marker of her pregnancy. And so I guess we're getting Arthur Jr. Aqua Baby again soon.
Well, as I'm flipping through the issue right now, it says next issue Black Manta returns, and I was like, "Well, where's Black Manta at?" I guess all right,
yeah,
we're jumping right to this.
The jokes are there.
Another baby.
I don't know. I have complicated feelings about this. I guess I don't remember exactly when the Abnett run ended, but we've either had like 9 or 7 or at least 5 issues of Amnesia Aquaman, not knowing he's Aquaman, not knowing his real name, not knowing Mara. Mara killed him, which is really stupid, and whatever. And now they're gonna have Aqua Baby, which is kind of cool. They're not married, and they discuss, hey, maybe we should marry. Hey, blah blah. When the beginning of Abnett's Aquaman run, I think it was it was either in the Rebirth issue or it was like number 52 of the New 52 run, where Aquaman engages or proposes to Mara, and they just never fully followed up on that. I'm not really sure. I'm not super excited about this run. Maybe I'll keep reading it.
All right. I like that the art, there's a lot of Capullo in the faces, I feel.
Yeah, I mean, the art's all right. There's some interesting stuff. Some good coloring in the mother shark scenes. But I'm not super jazzed about it. But what about Batman?
I'm loving this. Batman number 7. I know you'll hate it, but it's awesome. It's the end of the Fall and the Fallen arc. It's part 4. Is Thomas Wayne Flashpoint Batman is dragging Bruce in a casket through the desert.
He's not in the casket. He's like along
Bruce in the casket.
Yeah, I thought you said in.
Yeah, Bruce is just like slumped over the horse. The casket's being dragged by it, and they get attacked by ninjas from the League of Assassins. They take him out, and then like Bruce starts to remember who he is, and he's like completely drugged up too. And basically what we learn here is that Thomas Wayne has the corpse of Martha Wayne with him, and they're going to a Lazarus pit and going to throw her in and see what happens. All right, I'm down for this. It's not going to end well, but
Yeah,
I'm down for it.
it's the question is which Martha, because either one is
That's
stupid.
that's my thing. I was like, is it Flashpoint Martha? Because like that's going to be really bad. Because Flashpoint Martha is the Joker.
Yeah, that won't work. And if it's this Martha, okay, she's gonna wake up and be totally happy to go back to life with her, you know, alternate universe husband who she technically doesn't know, and her son who's a deranged superhero. Whatever. It's very strange.
It's very strange, but I thought the art and the coloring in this issue is absolutely fantastic. With the desert settings, with the playing around with the sun.
Yeah, the art's amazing, and we get like 1 or 2 pages of action of Thomas fighting these ninjas, and they do a cool coloring effect, if I recall correctly, in the action panels. Kind of almost like a punch kapow kind of thing, but it's cool. But I found this issue fucking boring as shit, and I just hate this entire premise of Flashpoint Batman in the main universe, and they're gonna resurrect Martha Wayne. This is like worse than Jor-El.
No, it's not. It's not that. It's not worse than that. I like the sequence of Batman putting the cow back on. That was pretty good too. I'm just very excited to see where this goes. As I keep saying, we're in the final stretch of King's Run before Batcat starts. So I really want to know where this goes.
Is City of Bane 75 to 85?
I think so.
So I don't recall what the next 2 issues are.
It's going to be dealing with this probably.
I thought that this was the end of an arc.
Well, this is the end of an arc. It's the end of an arc that starts the next arc. So, yeah. And I know people didn't like Nightmares, but I liked this and I liked Nightmares. So either I just don't just pay attention because the whole run's been kind of building to this. Kind of like, so I'm very excited to see where it goes.
Dan, did you read this?
Yeah, and just to echo what you guys said, I mean, I thought it was a pretty good issue to read by itself. I'm not really 100% familiar with like the entire backstory of all this stuff, because I think I jumped into like this whole series at like issue 70, I think. So
yeah, I think you jumped in at like 72 or something.
Yeah, so I have like 69 issues to read up on, but no, I think the art was really good. Yeah, I'm just curious to see what happens next. So
I saw people complaining like, "Why does Batman not know what he's doing?" It's like because he's drugged.
most people when they're drugged don't know what to do.
What more do you want from King to like beat you over the head? Like it's ridiculous at this point. The amount of complaining that this book gets.
It's totally different eras, but just imagine a kid buying this book in 1971 for even back then, a full price issue. Nothing happens in this book, but whatever. Another book where I guess a lot of things are happening, but also nothing happens in this book either. Justice League 26 by not Scott Snyder. This is a James Tynion issue with Javier Fernandez art. So I guess earlier Tynion's role was the Legion of Doom issues, and that's not really what this is at all. And I'm assuming he's not writing this full arc coming up, but so it's interesting to see him writing this issue. Martian Manhunter is looking for Lex Luthor because there's all these whispers and stories of Lex going around and manipulating people and disrupting the order and justice of society. Meanwhile, the heavy hitters of the Justice League are at the Hall of Heroes, which is like in the multiverse. This has to do with multiversity stuff. As Snyder continues to do his Grant Morrison cover band. And it turns out that the broken source wall is like rotting the universe. And we've got these teases of Perpetua, and they're going to destroy the multiverse and turn populations against heroes and get rid of heroes and whatever the hell else. Ambiguous, gigantic multiverse evil stuff. Superman kind of pep talks everyone. Is like, hey, there's going to be some big shit going on, and they have to find the monitors, I guess. And Hawkgirl's really mad at John because he's not listening to anyone and trying to find Lex. And I guess all the cool science characters are background props for this run. We see Mr. Terrific, Ryan Choi Adam, Ted Cord Blue Beetle, and the Metal Men working on science stuff. There's also a team of detectives working on that type of stuff. We have Green Arrow, Plastic Man, Question, Constantine, and Detective Chimp. Question says Herm, so really beating you over the head with a Rorschach Watchman joke.
Well, it doesn't help that his jacket's buttoned up exactly the same as Rorschach's.
Yeah, and it's brown. Hawkman and Black Canary, it's not really clear. Hawkman and Black Canary are totally teaching people, but Orphan Cassandra King is also there, and to me it wasn't clear if she was one of the teachers, if she was the third teacher, or if she's one of the students. But they're basically making sure everyone's up and at 'em with combat skills, and it's basically just a bunch of Titans characters that they're teaching.
What was your favorite cameo? I liked the Flash saying hi to Kingdom Come Flash.
Yeah, I mean the multiversity scenes are kind of cool, but I'm not huge. I mean, I like Captain Carrot.
Captain Carrot was fun too. I just like how the Flash is like, "Hey, good to see you."
And Starman and Jarro are doing some shit. They're like trying to figure out time stuff.
Yeah.
I haven't read much of this run, but Jarro's like a so stupid that it's cool kind of character to me. And basically through this whole issue, as we get introduced to all of this, it's Hawkgirl who's kind of the now in charge of the Justice League at the home base, even though it should be Martian Manhunter, but he's fucked off. And Mara is there just walking along with her, so that Mara is literally just used as an afterthought to bounce Hawkgirl's exposition and thoughts off of her. And Mara finally kind of calls that out and is like, hey, I'm the queen of a nation which covers a lot of the earth, so you can go hunt down your boyfriend and I'll take care of things. And Martian Manhunter finds Lex Luthor's father.
Yeah, Lionel Luthor.
And that's it. It's kind of cool. There's lots of high stakes going on. Not a ton, actually. Like there's not a ton of plot in this issue. It's lots of setting things up to move forward, but very high stakes. I mean, this feels like this should be the event, like the event miniseries rather than Event Leviathan.
Yeah, but I'm also kind of happy like Event Leviathan can happen, and then like the big Justice League story can happen in Justice League though. So
yeah, I mean, this whole year of the villain, like where you have thematically stuff going on in Batman and Justice League, you have the Event Leviathan and the Superman stuff. It's pretty reminiscent of Infinite Crisis in certain ways to me.
I got like a little bit of a World War III vibe, like the last arc of Morrison's JLA, where everyone on Earth gets powers. Instead, like they're just recruiting every single Justice League member ever to help out. Like I like that. Like this was a lot more of what I wanted from Justice League, though. So I'm happy with this direction after that arc that I really didn't like until like the final 2 issues. But I'm excited to see where this goes. Dan, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I like you said, it's kind of. I actually like this better than the Event Leviathan's issue that we read, but I mean, it's probably a different type of book entirely. But
Yeah,
yeah,
they're 2 very good books.
and I like the Martian Manhunter stuff in this book, like the beginning, and then like towards the end, as he's like kind of like doing his own thing. But yeah, I'm still trying to figure out a lot of the stuff that's going on. Still, I'm not really too familiar with a lot of these characters, so like just trying to piece together, I guess, some of the stuff. So, but yeah, it was good.
And with that, we're gonna go into our final DC book, the much anticipated, or no?
No,
Is it the much anticipated?
to an extent.
I would say so. I mean, I was definitely interested in it. It's a DC Black Label book. Frank Miller and John Romita Jr.'s Superman Year One, #1, the 64-page extravaganza. Which, by the way, Superman doesn't appear at all in this book.
Hmm.
But this was my pick of the week. So I found this to be a pleasant surprise. I thought I was going to go into this absolutely hating it, but basically this whole first 64 pages is the origin of Superman and him growing up with the Kents on the farm, and then the biggest takeaway is that the interesting thing here is that he leaves for the Navy and not to just become a reporter in Metropolis. So that's the big change, which with the way, because this is in the Dark Knight continuity with the Superman from Miller's Dark Knight, it totally makes sense for the Superman to go into the Navy, I felt. Um I thought this was the best John Romita Jr.'s arts looked in a long time, though the first 20-25 pages or so with Toddler Superman were really rough with the weird big head thing.
And the
But
eyes.
the eyes were weird too. But his destruction on Krypton scene I thought was really, really good. And the big shots of like the farmland I thought were good. Um I thought the book was. I saw a lot of like people saying that this is what Man of Steel should have been, or this is darker than Man of Steel. Like there's Brightburn tendencies here, and it's like I didn't get anything from that at all. Especially with the stuff that John Kent was saying, I felt like if anything, this is what kind of Man of Steel should have been with the way the Kents were teaching Clark. But because it was very optimistic and positive of do the right thing, not I mean tornado can happen, like maybe use your powers, maybe don't. But I liked the kind of Superman with Lana Lang growing up on the farm. I liked the sequence of when he leaves, he uses telescopic vision to see like she's sitting on his roof with holding up the sign that says goodbye to him. I thought that was pretty neat. Um, then the whole other thing around this too is like Clark's doing like good deeds for all of his classmates around Smallville High School, and then also like he fights like a gang of bullies, which are very, very Frank Miller written bullies. Like the dialogue they have is very Frank Miller esque. Like, is it dated? Yeah, but is that like I don't know what you expected. This is Frank Miller and the Dark Knight continuity. So this is pretty on brand for what you were going to get. I enjoyed this more than I thought I was going to. I'm going to open the floor for you guys. What did you guys think?
I mean, yeah, I was the exact same. This is also my pick of the week. Yeah, it just reminded me a lot of what I really liked about Frank Miller's writing. Um, and yeah, I mean, John Romita Jr., long history with him, reading a lot of stuff from him, and um, it's a good duo. I think it works really well. And yeah, this is definitely the book that Man of Steel this is definitely the movie that Man of Steel wished it was, because this has more character development in 64 pages of a book than that whole movie had. And yeah, I liked it a lot.
I thought it was pretty dense. I kept thinking like, am I near the end? Am I near the end?
But like I thought the 64 pages were used well though. Like it totally tells like if this is only 3 issues, this is definitely like the third of a story, and like there's a lot packed in here though.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about how he looks, how Clark looks as a child, which that's kind of always been a weakness of Frank Miller. I mean, you see the same kind of like big head, big eyes, children in the super early scenes of Man Without Fear, which Man Without Fear is the closest comparison to this actually,
Yeah.
because you have the Miller Romita team on an origin story of superhero, but also, I mean, any of his other stuff, he just always draws kids like that. You see it, I guess. I'm trying to think. Maybe you see some of it in Kick-Ass, but
You do see some of it, I guess.
and Clark lands on Earth just like a straight up toddler, so there's no baby stuff, and he has coherent thoughts, and it's kind of implied that like he's pretty much knew Jor-El to a certain extent,
I read
or
that
at
more
least
so it's just like Miller's narration though. Like I feel like you can take it as Miller's narration, just being like an omniscient narrator, or it's Baby Clark. But I took it more as like Miller just being a narrator.
he also has a weird hat when he shows up.
Yeah.
But and then just like weird comments that I noted down. His oatmeal is green for some reason.
It could be pea soup.
Yeah, and no, they say oatmeal, so it's like
Oh, do they?
I don't know if it has something in it or what. Uh, young Clark Kent. Also, I'm not really sure when this takes place. I think it might actually supposed to be like sort of like way back in the past. Well, it has to be to an extent because Dark Knight Returns is sort of Reagan era, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, Reagan's president.
Yeah, so this might take place in like the 50s or something.
It has that feel to it.
And part of that is young Clark Kent makes a reference to Doc Savage. So
Yeah, I like that though.
he's reading Doc Savage, stories and stuff like that. There's a goth kid, which is really over the top, and that ties into this whole bullying plot. And the scene that a lot of people are talking about in this book is that the bullies attempt to gang rape Lana. And I was expecting something like way more gratuitous and
No,
unnecessary.
it's not gratuitous at all. Also, like Superman just shows up and stops it, like
Yeah.
before anything can really happen.
It wasn't remotely as like serious and bad as I thought it was going to be, but I also still understand people are like, we don't really need that scene. But
We don't, but also like it is a Black Label book, so you can do whatever the hell you want.
Yeah, but it felt like it was just thrown in there for the sake of throwing it in there. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, that's the problem with that. That's the potential problem with this Black Label, and that was the problem with Marvel Max. It's like, ooh, it's Max. I got to do something Max.
Yeah.
And with few exceptions, when it's like you get to do a mature title, a lot of times the mature elements are just, look, it's a mature element.
Yeah.
This doesn't go all the way that, it's not like some Brian Azzarello Cage stuff, which thank God Brian Azzarello isn't ghostwriting this for Miller to our knowledge. But
I will say though, like if that scene happened in Man of Steel, it would go on much longer and more uncomfortably.
Yeah. It was good. I liked it. There are a few pages or panels of Romita where it's really, really good, but there's also a lot of just like teenagers talking in this issue, which Romita's not that exciting at. So I'm excited to see as we keep going and keep seeing more powers, and who knows what he's going to do in the Navy. We have potentially we could get war scenes.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to keep following this.
I was a very, very pleasant surprise. And I'm very kind of excited to see where it goes. Especially by the point when we eventually do get like Superman full out.
Yep. All right, Dan, take us to Marvel and Captain America. I don't know why you guys read this issue, but go ahead.
Yeah, so
I don't know why either. I would have read the next one because it's the start of another arc.
Yeah, so Captain America number 11, written by Tanishi. How do you say that?
Just
Ta-Nehisi
keep going.
Coates.
Okay, and Adam Kubert on art, featuring the Daughters of Liberty guys. So, yeah.
Yes. Do you know who the Daughters of Liberty are? Because I looked it up.
What?
Do you know who the Daughters of Liberty are? Because I looked it up after this issue.
Nah,
Yes.
who is it?
Okay, well, they were formed in Captain America number 7, which all corresponds to this arc where Cap was locked up. But they were formed by Sharon Carter to help bust Cap out. It's Jessica Drew, Susan Storm, Mockingbird, Echo, Misty Knight, White Tiger, and Annabelle Riggs, who is the human host of Valkyrie.
Nice. Yeah, so I thought that was kind of cool. Some of those characters I care about.
What a cool team, actually.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we'll see him some other time down the line, probably. So I think pretty much the premise, like you said, is Captain America is, I think, framed for the murder of Thunderbolt Ross, right? And then he's put into this prison, and basically
There's also a fallout of public perception of Cap after Secret Empire too. That's been a big thing in Coates' run, from what I've read.
Yep. Yeah. So pretty much at this point, he's in the prison and he's getting broken out of by the Daughters of Liberty pretty much in this issue. One of the things to note is really the guards in the prison look like the guardsmen from like the Iron Man books. I don't know if that's like was intentional or not, but
It looked
it
like
looks
AIM agents to me.
they look like AIM, but like they have like the face of like the guardsmen, which is weird. I gotta look it up and see what they actually are, but it might be like a mix of them. But pretty much, Cap is pretty much just breaking out of the prison in this issue. He teams up with a bunch of different villains. I think Wrecker and Thunderball are two of the ones that are in this issue. So pretty much it's just a giant fight scene.
Wait, you
What?
said he's in prison?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the vault?
No, it's like it says like the mirror.
I guess Supermax prison.
Yeah, it's like something like Myrmidon or something. I'm not sure how you pronounce it.
Dan, maybe you haven't read like certain issues where this is the status quo, but eventually the guardsman armor is replicated in mass to be the armor of all the guards of the vault.
Oh.
Oh well, that was in the Armor Wars storyline. I think that first happened.
Yes.
Right?
So,
yeah.
So I don't know, whatever prison he's at, maybe it's an offshoot of the vault, and so all the guards would be wearing the guardsman armor.
Yeah, you're probably right. But I thought that was just interesting to see there. So we get a shot with Captain America using a trash or like some sort of like shield, like levitating platform as a shield, and then throwing it back towards the guys. What else? I mean, there's really, I kind of came into this, like you said, at the end of this arc. But I mean, like this has me interested enough. What'd you say?
Sin and Crossbones are blowing up stuff with bazookas too.
Oh yeah, that's really cool at the end. But I really like this issue, honestly. I think it's something to go back and kind of read the rest of this run and see what it's like. We get a moment with Baron Strucker in the inside, and we have two of the Daughters of Liberty. We have Invisible Woman show up, and she actually like surrounds Baron Strucker with like an invisible bubble and basically chokes him out and makes him go unconscious. What else? Misty Knight has like a Winter Soldier arm. I'm not sure why that's a case with that. But yeah, I don't know. This issue is kind of cool. At the end, though,
I liked it.
Yeah, it's weird because at the end,
I liked it, but Adam Kubert's art was a little rough.
Yeah, a little rough at times. Definitely. But yeah, I mean, there's really not much like we talked about off air before we went online here. There's really not much to talk about with this issue other than the fact that he gets broken out and they go somewhere else. So
yeah. I wish I had more to say. Like, it's not bad, but like I read like the first 4 issues of this book and then like forgot about it because it's not double shipping like some of other Marvel's bigger books right now. But I've liked the beginning of Coates' run, so I'm definitely interested to keep continuing this book. But I guess going into Daredevil by Chip Zdarsky and Lalit Kumar Sharma is the artist on this arc. Marco Cicchetto will be back on the next arc. I think I mentioned that last episode, but this is part 2 of No Devils, Only God, which is Zdarsky's second arc on the book. We open up with the Detective Cole North was attacked by the Owl's henchmen, and he has to give a statement. And most of this issue revolves around a meeting of all of the New York crime bosses with Kingpin in a secluded vault in a bank in New York City, which is pretty cool because since Kingpin's the mayor, he can have them meet in like this super secret vault where no one will know where they're at. And the big takeaway from this issue is that because Kingpin doesn't really feel anything now that Daredevil's no longer there, he's absolving his crime empire. He's divvying it up between the rest of all these other crime bosses, the Owl being the big one, as we've seen the Owl is planning stuff in Zdarsky's run, but he kind of playing a thing with no Daredevil, Kingpin he's not really motivated, or he wants to focus on being the mayor of New York City. So he's going to divide his crime empire up evenly and dispense it all around him, which I thought was a really kind of interesting idea. So we're not just falling into, well, Matt's eventually going to have to fight Kingpin again. I'm assuming Kingpin's going to come back, but that's definitely a new idea of Kingpin stepping away from. It's not a new idea because I know he left for a while when he went to Japan. But Kingpin focusing on being the mayor of New York, I thought is a good way to kind of sideline him for a bit. I think this is the first time we see Foggy in Zdarsky's run. Is Matt gives him the birthday present he bought in the last issue from the bookstore, and he's continuing to be going about being a parole officer, and his new parole officer case is the brother of the guy he killed when he went out one of the last nights he was Daredevil. So Matt has to he has a full-on panic attack in the office, and he has to leave the office, and he collapses outside it because he has a panic attack. But there is and he goes to church to try to go to confessional. He ends up talking to one of the nuns there, and then there's a new Daredevil running around the streets. It's a kind of people in just Daredevil masks trying to beat up common criminals. So we'll see. How this all ends up, but I'm liking this lark. If this would have been my pick of the week, so this is like my runner-up book. So what did you think?
I thought it was really good. It's funny because I'm reading Brubaker's Daredevil right now, so there's things I'm kind of like crossing and like mixing up between the two books because I'm trying to like read one thing and then read this. But yeah, some of the same beats, some of the things that Chip's doing in this book kind of harken back to those other great runs, and it's just in that same vibe. It's not obviously retreading anything, but because Matt's doing different things, and he's a lot happier, I would say, in this book than he is in Brubaker's run. But yeah, it seems like a really another solid installment of Daredevil. Daredevil has had a lot of good writers.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't like there's a lot of low times.
I want to say the other big takeaway from this issue is because Matt can't be Daredevil anymore since the Defenders and Spidey sidelined him.
Mm-hmm.
He's just sitting at night. He's just sitting in his apartment using his super hearing and just calling 911 and reporting all the crimes he hears, which is it's a really cool visual with what they do on the page. So it's a spread page of Matt just sitting in his apartment, but you hear all the words, all the words of all the crimes happening all at once, and he's just dialing 911 every single time. He's like, it's really kind of interesting. I did like the conversation Matt has with Nun where basically she tells him, "You're not special," with your self-loathing. It kind of picks it up a little bit, but yeah, this continues to be really good and interesting. I don't think this art's bad, but I am awaiting Chiquetto's return, because that first arc with Chiquetto was really, really fantastic looking. Not this, but this art is still pretty good, especially for the arc they're doing. Because if I'm going to get Chiquetto, I want the big, massive action set pieces, which we aren't getting really in this arc. It's a lot of talking and a lot of setup. So let's not I don't want to waste Marco Chiquetto's art on that. Going with that, Dan, tell us about Tony Stark Iron Man number 13.
Yeah, so Tony Stark, Iron Man number 13. Just picking up from last issue, we had this guy named I think it's was it Saudarang, came down and was I guess trying to, now he's on a goal to try to find the gold that's in a bank vault in New York City that Tony has, because I guess he needs it for his master that he's serving or something. It's really, I mean, both of these issues are written by Gail Simone, so they're not really linked, I don't think, too heavily to the main Tony Stark's series being written by Slott. But pretty much this whole issue is just a throwdown between this dragon guy and Tony. And Tony changes into this knight armor that's really, really ugly. I don't care for it at all. It looks really awful. We get a reference to Doom's Quest because Bethany and Tony and Rhodey are talking about, have you dealt with wizards and magic before? And he's like, yeah, I've dealt with magic. And, I went back in time and, fought Dr. Doom back in Camelot time. So he has some background to it. But But yeah, it's weird because like this dragon that he's fighting against is pretty much like a virus. So like if he tries to fight against him or tries to destroy himself or something or tries to like get out of the armor, um, he would basically kill himself. So it's really pretty much just a throwdown there. And the way that Tony ends up beating him is he brings in Janet to kind of distract the dragon as he goes to change into his. Oh, we also get a point where like this armor that Tony's wearing can like summon magic and shit. So he basically summons like all these frogs to go into this dragon's mouth. It's really kind of comedical at this point. Um, what else? Yeah, the wasp shows up, like I said. Still don't know how I feel about that relationship between Janet and Tony, especially because of the past history between the two of them. And we get an appearance of the Mark I armor, which pretty much is what Tony uses to beat this guy because there's no like AI, there's no like internet type of thing that this guy could infect him with. So he changes into that and basically like starts pummeling this dragon to death, almost to the point of death. And Janet's like, "You need to stop! Like you're gonna fucking kill this guy." And there's a moment where Tony gets out of the armor, and he has to. I guess like there was a point earlier in this whole run where Tony was like drinking heavily again, and he hasn't told Jan about it yet because he's like nervous about how she will react, and he doesn't tell her on this issue either. And I'm like, that's probably gonna come back and bite you in the ass. Yeah, and then the rest of it just ends. Bethany shows up and she's like, "We need you to get an elf buster," which I don't know what the fuck that is. Um, yeah, it's just some random shit. And apparently, this story is continued in War of the Realms, which I will probably not read. So, again, just another War of the Realms tie-in book that I don't really care too much about. I'm not even sure like how this will be collected. I don't know if this is going to be in that. Probably will be in the trades, but
Probably will be.
I just don't really like just reading a side issue like this doesn't make me interested in the event at all.
A 3-issue trade where 2 issues are tie-ins to War of the Realms.
Yeah, that will fucking suck. But yeah, it was not that good.
So over in X-Men corner, Uncanny X-Men. Several characters. So Uncanny X-Men. I think this ends at 22, maybe.
I think it's 22 or 23.
We get Fabian Cortez's Upstarts, and they're. So do you guys know who Fabian Cortez is?
Yeah, and I've always thought he's lame.
So he's like, he and his group of upstarts, they're kind of like rebel Magneto acolytes from the introduced immediately post Claremont and through the 90s, and eventually get wrapped up more with Joseph than Magneto. And in the, I can't think of what the crossover is called. In a crossover, Cortez steals Luna, which is the baby of Crystal and Quicksilver, which becomes a whole X-Men Avengers crossover. And so the upstarts in this issue, they killed the Nasty Boys. Did you know the Nasty Boys?
Yeah, they're a tag team from wrestling. Brian Knobbs, they're Hulk Hogan's friends.
I'm not sure how likely it is that they're named after them, but these Nasty Boys are Mr. Sinister's team of nobody villains, and that dates back to Peter David's first X Factor run in the 90s. So Rosenberg, I guess he knows his 90s X-Men stuff, and so kills most of these characters. Shinobi Shaw, who is one of the upstarts, kills himself. And I guess I don't really know what happens to Fabian Cortez and the other upstarts. I don't know if the X-Men take them back or they run away. So we've got a bunch of dead characters now. And we also get an interlude page of a mutant cure, which has been referenced before, but we haven't seen a ton of like ramifications or usage of it. So we see a kid getting the cure and it like reacts to, he has a bad reaction. And Dark Beast, he cures the cure and has Banshee. It's kind of hilarious panel. Banshee's going around basically crop dusting this airborne like anti antidote to the mutant cure. But to jump ahead, it turns out that, or actually, I won't jump ahead. It makes more sense to just go pay like chronological. Wolverine and Quanon are dealing with Emma. Mystique kills Quanon, so there's another dead character. By transforming a bunch, she becomes Lady Deathstrike for a minute, and then Spiral, and then Quanon, and then becomes old school Psylocke, Jim Lee Psylocke. Kills her, so rest in peace. Wolverine just guts Marrow open, but knows that Elixir will be able to save her. And then the real Captain America and Dr. Nemesis show up out of nowhere at the X-Men base. And I'm not really sure what Dr. Nemesis is doing with Captain America. I'm assuming that's not in Jason Aaron's stuff, but who knows? And it turns out that
doctor, that's why.
Yeah, Dark Beast's vaccine for the vaccine is actually killing kids, but it's not. It's putting them into comas, and then the parents have to decide, am I going to basically let my kid be a mutant, or am I going to kill them? So Dark Beast linked up with Sinister to do that because he's
the commentary. The commentary being here anti-vaxxing or vaccinating.
Yeah, sort of. It's not too clear though. Like that's not like very obvious.
Because I thought it was
and Cap is like, yeah, I haven't spoken to you at all. And so now they know that the Captain America from before was bullshit. And Magic just murders Dark Beast. So there's another dead character. And Emma Frost, the final page, Emma goes in Scott's mind and is like, hey, I'm giving you all your memories back, and I need you guys to come save me because I got double-crossed by the government. I don't know. It's whatever.
Yeah, well, the book is whatever at this point because we know it's ending.
Yeah, in this issue, I didn't even really pay attention to who was drawing it. I'm pretty sure, again, it's not LaRocca. I guess LaRocca is just not doing this entire like second arc or stage of the run because I assume he's being set up to take on an X book going forward or something else. Who knows? But art's not super impressive anymore. I mean, it wasn't amazing before, but it was kind of cool. And tons of characters are dying. A lot of them don't care.
On the final issue, I really want to read out a tally of who all got killed in this book.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I just want I want to dive deeper into this Emma and Scott stuff because there's like two of my favorite characters in the Marvel universe. One of my favorite relationships from the comic books, and I like the '90s references, which have no point to them. But I don't like all these characters dying, and not much is really going on.
Well, it looks like you'll at least get that in the final issues,
I guess.
And then you just have to hope that whatever House of X and Powers of X are, that we've seen these character designs. What the hell is it like?
That they don't permanently ruin the franchise.
Well, here's the thing. I keep saying Hickman ain't going to stick around more than 2 years, so they're going to reboot after that.
Yeah, but when's the last time anyone stuck around more than 2 years?
Exactly. So I'm betting. I will bet the house on the fact that we'll get through House of X, Powers of X, and then Hickman will stick on the main book for 2 years, and then he'll leave, and then whoever they bring in to help, they'll scramble, and then they'll reboot the goddamn thing again in a year and a half. So, okay, great.
It's whatever. Okay. Dan, one final book this week. What is it?
Oh, we say definitely not the best for last.
Going alphabetical order here.
Yeah, exactly. So this is Unstoppable Wasp number 9, AIM versus Girl, which is an acronym, which I don't know what the acronym's for, but pretty much.
Advanced Idea Mechanics. Don't you know your Marvel history, man?
I know what AIM is. I don't know what Girl stands for. That's fine.
I forget.
Yeah, exactly. We gotta look it up. Vince, look it up. But pretty much what's happening is I guess there's this Girl Expo going on. Again, I don't know what Girl stands for, so I don't know what the expo is about. But apparently Nadia Van Dyne finds out about who her mother is, because apparently she's just born to Hank Pym and his first wife. So her mom is Maria, who she just found out is not actually dead, even though apparently she was dead. So we open up the issue to Mockingbird and Bucky going to the Red Room in Russia because there's a tip that she's alive over there. Turns out that's a trap, and we get another thing that Nadia finds out that apparently her mom is in New York, so she goes to see where she's at. Turns out it's this shapeshifter guy who has like this mask that he wears that has like two X's on it and like a straight line for like a mouth, and it looks really stupid. And pretty much this issue is just um, Nadia trying to get free of this shapeshifter guy, and her friends trying to get out of this because AIM pretty much lures all these guys into a trap. I'm assuming this shapeshifter guy is part of AIM as well. Um, I wasn't a huge fan of this art. I'm not sure. It's not my favorite. It looks like
Very key.
yeah, it looks very cartoonish, and I just wasn't a big fan of it. I mean, there's times where I thought it was really good. Um, we also get a fight too. I guess Whiplash is part of. Oh, not Whiplash. Whirlwind is part of AIM, I guess now. And the cool thing is that he actually is wearing his classic suit. Well, not the classic. He actually had one suit that he changed over to, but this one is actually like pretty classic. And he's fighting Janet Van Dyne. I guess she's at this expo as well. And yeah, pretty much the way this issue ends is Nadia gets free. She thinks that she kills this guy, this shapeshifter guy, and they all get out. Janet ends up beating the shit out of this Whirlwind guy because, like, I don't know if you guys know, but like the history behind Whirlwind is like he was like obsessed with Janet and was like trying to like go after her and shit all the time, but like in a murderous type of way, not like in like a what's his name? Was it the Melter? I'm not sure. Melter had like a crush for Janet back in like the '60s. Um, but yeah, pretty much they get out, and the shapeshifter guy is in the shape of one of Janet or Nadia's friends, and she ends up knocking out Janet and her friend, and that's where we end the story. So I don't know. I mean, I know I had the first two trades of this series, so I'm probably gonna end up reading it anyway. But I mean, I think it's good. I just feel like I gotta go back and read more of it and get invested into the character because like I'm kind of jumping in with the character kind of already semi-established. Um, so I kind of just want to probably read from the beginning. I'll probably understand it better.
I have the acronym for GIRL.
What is it?
Genius in Action Research Labs.
Mm,
It's not terrible.
nah.
Yeah, but where's the A?
Yes.
Like Giarl, whatever. So the backstory of Girl, I also looked this up. The backstory is that Nadia Pym finds out that S.H.I.E.L.D. has a list of the most intelligent humans known to them, and there's not a woman on the list higher than 27. So Nadia Pym created this, research think tank to try and counter that or look at, I don't know, whatever.
Where was Sue Storm ranked?
Sue Storm's not that smart. She's
pretty smart.
No, she's not. And I'm not saying that to put her down, but like the Storms and Ben Grimm, they're not smart. Like that's, I mean, they're relatively smart just through accumulated years of being
Around
with
Reed.
Wasn't Sue also a scientist though?
No, everyone basically just gets wrapped along with it.
I always thought she was a scientist as well.
No. They're now all scientists now, and they're all have lots of knowledge now through years of being on Fantastic Four. And I mean, maybe they even were scientists before. They're all smart, but as far as if you're gonna make a list of the most intelligent characters in the Marvel universe, she's not above some of the smartest like non-superhero characters.
Okay, but wasn't Moon Girl like the second smartest person in the Marvel universe?
Yeah,
So why is she ranked 27?
Yeah, that's not consistent because Marvel in the Moon Girl book has said that she's the smartest person on Earth because remember at the time they said that Reed was off Earth,
Because
et
Reed was
cetera, et
off Will,
cetera. Which that obviously that didn't add up, but whatever. And in fact, the wiki page says that Nadia goes to Lunella, that's Moon Girl, and asks her to be part of Girl, and Moon Girl is like, "This is a really cool idea, but I have my own solo book, so I'm not going to be a guest star in your book."
which is
So
weird
good
because
luck.
the book is full of guest stars.
Yeah. But whatever.
So
There-
I guess to round up, what was everyone just to remember? Vince, you never shared your pick of the week, but mine and Dan's was Superman Year One, number one. What was yours?
I didn't really super enjoy any of the books this week, so I think just by the small measures, mine is Justice League.
Okay. You have anything else to say?
No.
All right. That's your show this week, then.
Actually, I do have one more thing.
Okay.
While,
Well,
while we were talking about other stuff, I did the RNG, our retro book for next week. For announcing at the end of this episode, the spinning wheel. We got April 1972 from Marvel Comics, Marvel Premiere #1, the first solo issue of Adam Warlock.
Nice.
oh,
That's
there you
pretty
go.
cool.
So that should be interesting. Definitely a jumping on point, and we'll let you know what we think about that next week. Bye-bye.
Right.